GINA, Jason William Mitchiner Galbraith, GAOMG. Just want to go over with you. This was my friend. Her name was, she's another author, Blair Tyndall, and she wrote Mozart in the Jungle that was on Amazon. And I mean, this was her, right there. And she always told me, Jason, your books and everything are awesome, your trilogies that you've written, and all the hard work you've done. But even if you get a book deal, it really doesn't matter. That's not where you'll make any money. The money is in, a movie, getting a movie deal, having that. That's what will get you the money. So if my story's ever made into a movie and my books, my trilogy and everything are made into movies, then I'll be able to acquire, my ancestral Bardowie, my Galbraith Bardowie castle, and all the other lands and titles and everything that was taken from my ancestors, which will be amazing. But really, when I was looking at Scotland and all of the land there, is that I could see that there's such a inequality that the 1% rich own 90% of all of the land in Scotland. And if anything about me, and what I've done is that I don't like the 1% minority owning or ruling the 90% poor poverty majority. And what I did here was during the pandemic, I was able to win successfully $1.47 million from Uncle Rupert Murdoch when he fired everybody during the pandemic while he made record profits. So if I'm able to find success with my story and it's made into movies and with my books and everything like that, is that all of my ancestral stuff that I acquire, I'm going to donate it all back to Scotland, to the heritage and to the clan Galbraith and to everybody in Scotland to be able to enjoy it. And what I thought was like really amazing is also finding out about my heritage with being a Galbraith and everything, and where my ancestral roots come from. They come from Loch Lomond, the Argyll, Butte, and this little island called Gigha. And this little island in Scotland is here. And it's a little island called Gigha. And I was like, okay, who owns that? Because if I become successful, of course I want to buy that island also and give it back to the people. But what's so cool about this island is that it's actually it's a community owned island that all of the actual locals were able to buy back their island, their land, and they all own it now. Which the way I can really, make this like relevant is like with football. I'm a big time New York Giants fan. It goes back for when I lived in Claremont, California. I got drafted on the New York Yankees. We became city champs, and I got obsessed with all sports teams in New York. Well, just football and the baseball teams. I don't really care about basketball. But the New York Giants were my favorite team. But they're all owned by billionaires. It's Mara and Tish that own the New York Giants. So anything that I buy, tickets, everything like that, it goes back to those billionaires. The one team, it's the Green Bay Packers, and I'm not a Packers fan at all. Actually, the Giants have gone head to head with them in the playoffs. That Eli Manning kicked their butts and everything. It was dope, and won the Super Bowl against the Patriots. But anyway, the Packers is that all of the actual instead of a corporation, it's publicly owned. So all of the fans get to own the Packers, which is so cool. Again, because I really do not like the 1% minority that gets to rule and owns 90% of the poor poverty majority. And I was able to successfully, make my mark during the pandemic and like Robin Hood it for everyone that got fired during that time. And just to go on a little bit more about my Isle of Gigha, I mean, this is it. And it's again where my ancestors came from. And they're even mentioned, if you Wikipedia, it has a culture, is that Gigha has a vigorous tradition a lot of them were harping, and I thought it was like whalers, like harping and stuff. It's playing like the harp and everything like that. It's pretty cool. They're artists, just like me. I'm the writer poet, and a lot of them were writing their own songs and playing their songs out on harps. But it talks about represented by a family called, this is in Gaelic, and I can't speak Gaelic, and I'm not going to try, but it's shortened for Galbraith, and who were active on Gigha, and it is thought that their descendants were in Gigha until at least 1685. And I write about my Galbraiths on Gigha in my latest book, my 10th book, second trilogy, and it's pretty cool. There's a lot of, I mean, battles and wars with the MacDonald clans and all this type of stuff that goes on. But it's really cool. I get to write about it, and that they're still represented there. And most of the people in the 90s, they still spoke Gaelic on the island, which I think is amazing. But those numbers are declining, and it's sad. Is that whole culture, heritage, it's all dwindling because I never even knew that I was Scottish until, I mean, recently. And I'm doing everything I can to get back my castles, titles, and land. But to learn that language is something I'm probably not going to be able to master in my lifetime. And it's just sad to see, a lot of that culture and everything, dwindling away. So I hope to be able to preserve it as much as I can. But I love that it's owned by the people of Gigha, and I mean, even the fans of the Packers get to own their own team. I love when the 90% poor poverty majority gets to take back some from the 1% rich minority. So that's anyway. Just want to tell you about my little isle, Gigha. And if I do, get all my story, my books made into movies, have enough to buy back my ancestral Galbraith Bardowi Castle. It's owned right now by a fake fruit family that lives in there. Well, one of the 1% rich minority that owns everything. They're not even Scottish or anything. I'm a Galbraith. Help me buy back my ancestral titles, castles, and lands. Definitely, I have a GoFundMe. I've raised like $5. Anyway, cheers.